Conquer the Sky, Christopher Daniels, Frankie Zay, collectively known as SoCal Uncensored or
SCU! This is Catch, Hook, and Shoot, the worst podcast I've ever been on. Word.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Catch, Hook, and Shoot. Today is Sunday, July the 12th, 2020. I want to thank everybody for listening, watching, and subscribing on YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts from. Make sure you're following on social media on all platforms. You can find the show at Catch, Hook, Shoot. Head to patreon.com/catchhookshoot for bonus content, which is still being kind of revamped, so bear with me on that one. And head to prowrestlingtees.com/catchhookshoot for all your t-shirt needs. And gonna probably be rotating out some of the t-shirt designs I've got there in the next coming weeks, so keep an eye out for those as well. And if you ever want to shoot me an email, it's catchhookshoot@gmail.com. So let's dive right into everything going on in pro wrestling this week, kicking it all off like we always do with the match of the week. This week's match of the week comes from AEW Dynamite, which was night 2 of Fyter Fest this week, and that was the main event match, actually, between Chris Jericho and Orange Cassidy. These two guys put on an amazing match. For all of the Orange Cassidy kind of detractors out there that, you know, basically their biggest issue is with his gimmick, the kind of laid back, don't care kind of attitude thing, you know. Hopefully, if they have any kind of common sense about him, this will shut him up a little bit, because Cassidy definitely showed what he can do in the ring. Went out there and hung with one of the best ever in Chris Jericho. And yeah, like I said, these two guys put on a fantastic match. So if you have not seen it yet, go back and check it out. Like I always say, if you only watch one match this week, make it Cassidy versus Jericho. This was an awesome match in a week with a lot of awesome wrestling matches, to be quite honest. So, but yeah, this is my pick for match of the week: Orange Cassidy versus Chris Jericho from night 2 of Fyter Fest from AEW. So, moving into the next segment of the show, my personal top 3 highlights of the week, and that is the 3 count. First up on the 3 count this week, we saw the return of Heath Slater on Monday Night Raw. Came out, was brought out by Dolph Ziggler, basically challenged Drew McIntyre, and you know, we saw a different side of Heath Slater. We didn't see the kind of joke type gimmick that he always had, the whole I got kids thing and this and that. He came out, cut a very, very serious promo, very good promo on Drew McIntyre, and you know, they had a match, but it was literally like a 5-second match. You know, McIntyre just hit him with the Claymore, and that was about it. But yeah, you know, it was kind of cool to see Slater come back. Like I said, the promo he cut on McIntyre was great. Definitely showed some mic skills and a side of himself that we didn't get to see regularly when he was a full-time WWE wrestler. So yeah, definitely, you know, that I think that definitely raised his stock a little bit for you know, potentially going someplace else, because he did show that he can have that serious side, and he's not just a gimmick comedy type gimmick. Second up on the 3 count, we coming from New Japan Pro Wrestling this week, there is a new member of the Bullet Club, and that member is Evil. Joined the Bullet Club just over the last couple of days. I'll get more into that later when I'm talking about some of the New Japan goings on. But Evil, the newest member of the Bullet Club, has turned his back on LIJ, turned on Naito. And it was a pretty cool spot if you got to see the highlights, or if you watch the event on New Japan World. Definitely good to see Japanese wrestling again. So like I said, I'll get some more into that a little bit later on in the show. And number 3 on the 3 count this week, again from AEW Dynamite this past week, we have seen the return of the FTW Championship. Now, for those that might not be familiar, The FTW title comes from ECW back in the late 90s, and this was at a time when Taz was one of the top guys in ECW, and the storyline was that the world champion, I believe it was Shane Douglas at the time, was ducking him. Taz wasn't getting his title shot, so he created his own championship, and that championship was the FTW Championship. And for anyone who doesn't know what FTW stands for, it basically means fuck the world. So it was the F the World Championship. So, and Taz defended that belt, and actually, I think Sabu was really the only other person to hold that championship. He beat Taz for it at one point, but so that title was reintroduced on AEW Dynamite and presented by Taz to Brian Cage. So be interesting to see if this is going to be a sanctioned AEW championship, or if it's just going to be, kind of like it was before, an unsanctioned title that the person just kind of declares for themselves. So we'll have to see where they're going to go with that one, but I thought it was a pretty cool spot on AEW. So moving into news and rumors for the week, starting off with Monday Night Raw. I already talked about Heath Slater returning, lost in a squash match against Drew McIntyre after cutting, like I said, a really, really good promo. Dolph Ziggler, of course, was not happy with that, and started beating on Slater, and McIntyre came out and made the save, and McIntyre and Slater had a little bit of a 3MB reunion, minus Jinder Mahal, obviously, but it was a cool spot to open up Raw. We also saw another return of Kairi Sane on Monday Night Raw. There's been a lot of question as to whether Kairi Sane is going to be continuing with WWE. There's a lot of speculation that she's going to be going back to Japan and possibly even retiring sometime soon. But she did come back on Monday Night Raw and defeated Sasha Banks by disqualification in a pretty good match. And then we ended up seeing, was supposed to be Rey Mysterio and Aleister Black taking on Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy, but Rollins and Murphy attacked Aleister in the back, and it ended up being Rey Mysterio and Kevin Owens taking on Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy. And the way that this was set up was that the winner of the match got to pick the stipulation for Ray and Seth's match coming up at Extreme Rules. Ray and Kevin Owens were victorious in this one, and Rey Mysterio picked an eye for an eye match. And there's been a lot of stuff going around online about this the last week or so. And, basically the way WWE is promoting it is to win the match, you have to take out your opponent's eye, which is a bit gruesome. But, obviously nobody's really going to lose an eye. And there's speculation that WWE could be using, like, some type of CGI to, as part of this match. And so just going by that, I would assume this is going to be a cinematic type match. And I'm curious. I'm curious to see how this is going to be pulled off, because, with the cinematic matches, and especially now they're going to introduce the use of CGI, if that's true, it could be great or it could be terrible. I don't think there's too much in between on this one. So I will reserve judgment until I actually see the match. But I'm intrigued. I'm interested. So I want to see how this is going to work. Then also on Raw, we saw the unveiling of a new United States Championship belt. It was unveiled by MVP of all people. Now, obviously, he is not the champion, but he has just kind of declared himself the United States champion. But he will be facing Apollo Crews coming up at Extreme Rules for the United States Championship. So we'll see if MVP gets to hold on to that new belt that he unveiled, or if he has to give that up to Apollo. But the new belt, the new design for the U.S. title, I'm liking it. There was a lot of mixed reactions online, but that tends to happen anytime a new championship or a new belt is introduced. Some people are going to think it's great. Some people are just going to hate it just for the sake of hating it. Me personally, I like the look of this belt. I mean, the United States title has not changed since it was reintroduced into WWE back in 2003. So, 17 years we've been going with that same belt design. So it was definitely time for an upgrade, and I like it. It's got the stars and stripes, the red, white, and blue motif, big eagle on it. It's a good size belt. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, it's so small." Did you look at the size of it around MVP's waist? MVP is not a little guy, and so I mean, it's a good size belt. I think it looks pretty good. And, I think, like I said, people are just going to hate on it just for the sake of hating on it. Kind of the same way with the Intercontinental title. The belt that they have now, not real popular when it was introduced, still not real popular with some people. But I was one, I didn't like it a whole lot the first time I saw it, just because I love the classic Intercontinental title design. But, having had some time to see it on TV, kind of get used to it, it's not a bad looking belt. It's not my favorite, but it's not a terrible championship, and it's distinctive. It's not one of those a cookie cutter type belt like the world title, the universal title, and the women's Raw and SmackDown titles are all identical. That's what I mean by a cookie cutter type belt. It's just the big WWE logo, and that's about it. Same thing could kind of be said with the NXT men's and women's championships. They're virtually identical. The women's title's a little bit smaller, but the look of the belt is pretty much the same. Now, I think the NXT titles are much better looking titles than the main roster belts, but yeah, the new U.S. title, I really am liking this new design. I think it's pretty cool, so I'm here for it. So hopefully, that is the United States title going forward, and it's not just going to be an MVP thing. I'm hoping this is a permanent U.S. title for a while. And then after we saw the unveiling of the U.S. title, Lashley and MVP defeated Cedric Alexander and Ricochet in a tag team match. And after that, MVP again tried to recruit Cedric Alexander in the back, kind of playing on the sidekick card, with Cedric saying he's just Ricochet's sidekick and this and that, and kind of taking a backseat to Ricochet. So trying to get in the head of Cedric Alexander. MVP really working try to build himself a little bit of a stable here. And, I talked about it before. There was talk of MVP possibly having a stable with Lashley, as well as Apollo Crews, Cedric Alexander, and Ricochet. I think that'd be a very, very formidable group of guys to have. And you've got some, legitimate title contenders in that mix. I mean, you've got Apollo Crews, who's already the U.S. champion. Bobby Lashley has to be viewed as a contender for the world title, and then Cedric and Ricochet have become a very good tag team in the last several weeks, so it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility for them to end up as tag team champions at some point. So, I'm keeping a close eye on this one. I'm hoping they'll pull the trigger on some iteration of that group. And then at the end of the night, we saw Asuka defeat Bayley. And as a result of that, Asuka and Kairi Sane get a women's tag team championship match coming up this week on Raw. So I'm not thinking Bayley and Sasha are going to lose the tag titles anytime soon. I think they're going to hold them at least past Extreme Rules, because they both have singles title matches coming up at Extreme Rules. So I don't think the tag team titles are going to go anywhere just yet, but I think that will, I still think that will kind of be the catalyst to split them up somewhere down the line. Moving into NXT, it was night 2 of the Great American Bash. Starting off the night, we saw Candice LeRae defeat Mia Yim in a street fight, which don't see too many women's street fights in NXT. I think they said this was only the second one, and it was a damn good match. Candice LeRae, like I said, was victorious in this one. We saw Bronson Reed defeat Tony Nese, which was kind of a surprise. Tony Nese, former cruiserweight champion, and Bronson Reed fairly new, but it looks like they're going to start pushing Reed a little bit. I mean, he had a good match with Karrion Kross, I believe it was last week, and so Bronson Reed looks like he's starting to have a little bit of a run here. We saw Robert Stone in the back trying to recruit Shotzi Blackheart this time, and she told him no in no uncertain terms, and then proceeded to run him over with her tank after he was taken down by Killian Dane, because Stone, I think it was coffee spilled on him or something like that. But Killian Dane took Stone down, and Shotzi Blackheart ran him over with her tank that she rides to the ring. So that was a pretty cool spot. Johnny Gargano defeated Isaiah Swerve Scott. This is a match that kind of sprung from the backstage segment last week with the fight that broke out between Candice LeRae and Mia Yim, which led to their street fight and also led to this match between Gargano and Swerve. Again, with these two guys in the ring, you're going to have a good match, and Johnny Gargano was victorious in this one. And then we found out that Tegan Nox will be taking on Io Shirai this week for the NXT Women's Championship. Tegan Nox, of course, won the number one contenders match last week, so she will get her title shot coming up this coming week. And then we saw a six-man tag team match with Santos Escobar, Joaquin Wilde, and Raul Mendoza defeating Drake Maverick and Breezango. Not too much of a surprise there. I didn't really expect Maverick and Breezango to come out victorious in this one. They really are pushing Escobar, Wilde, and Mendoza pretty hard as a top heel group in NXT. Potentially could someday take the place of Undisputed Era as a top heel stable, so we'll have to see. But it's probably getting ahead of myself a little bit. But that seems to be the direction that they're going. We also saw the re-debut of Mercedes Martinez in a match against Santana Garrett. Martinez's signing was announced quite a while ago, several months ago, but obviously with everything going on, COVID-19, the lockdowns, and all that kind of stuff, I'm sure that had a part in her kind of delayed debut, but she did debut this week against Santana Garrett, put on another great match, and Mercedes was victorious. Also found out for next week we're going to see another match between Damian Priest and Cameron Grimes. This time, I would pick Priest in this one. The last time Grimes was victorious, but Priest was storyline injured at the time because he had been jumped in the parking lot. So this time he'll be hopefully 100% healthy, so should be a good match between these two. And at the end of the night, we also saw the crowning of the first ever double champion in NXT as Keith Lee defeated Adam Cole for the NXT championship. So Keith Lee is now the NXT champion and the North American champion, so congrats to Keith Lee. Definitely well deserved. Fantastic match between these two guys, which I think is exactly what everyone expected. But yeah, Keith Lee, one of the best that NXT has right now, has definitely earned this spot. And at the end of the night, we saw Karrion Kross and Scarlett kind of watching from somewhere in the arena, looked like from a press box or something like that. But yeah, so Kross definitely has his eye on the NXT title, which I've said before, I'm liking that they're kind of thrusting him right into the main event picture. I'm very much looking forward to seeing Keith Lee versus Karrion Kross. That match will be just insane. Moving on to Smackdown from this past Friday, we saw Jeff Hardy on Miz TV with The Miz and John Morrison, just kind of, pushing forward the storyline of Hardy and Sheamus and Hardy's past demons and issues with drugs and alcohol and things like that. Like I said, this is not my favorite storyline. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there enjoying it, and more power to you. I'm not one to begrudge anybody what they enjoy in the ways of entertainment. But then basically all this was just to throw out a challenge from Sheamus to Jeff Hardy for a bar fight that they're calling it. Now they've had a match before in WWE called a Barroom Brawl, and was a multi-person match. This was back in the days of the APA, Farouk and Bradshaw, or Ron Simmons and Bradshaw, Ron Simmons and JBL, however you want to call either one of them. But yeah, so a bar fight between Sheamus and Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy did accept. I would assume we'll see this at Extreme Rules. They didn't say that for certain, but yeah, and I should mention, it's no longer just Extreme Rules, the horror show. Now it's the horror show at Extreme Rules. So they keep changing up the name of the pay-per-view. So who knows what it'll be called by next Sunday when it actually happens. But yeah, so Jeff Hardy versus Sheamus in a bar fight. I'll have to see how that's going to work. And then after Miz TV, Jeff Hardy defeated The Miz in a match, which was, again, great match between Hardy and The Miz. Then we saw a women's tag team match. Sasha and Bayley defeated Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross for what seems like the 100th time. But, I get it. A lot of people are complaining about seeing the same matches and the same people over and over again. Well, look at look at everything going on. They're working on a closed set. They have limited staff to work with, limited roster to work with. So, yeah, you're going to see repeats of some matches for a little while. Just so, so WWE can fill that 5 hours of live, or actually, no, not even 7 hours of live television that they got to fill every week. So yeah, you're going to see repeats of some matches and stuff. Then saw kind of a weird spot, what they called a karaoke showdown on SmackDown. Was Naomi, Lacey Evans, Dana Brooke, and Tamina, and it was hosted by Jey Uso, who we haven't seen on TV in quite a while. But yeah, Naomi was the winner of the karaoke contest, and then Lacey kind of attacked her afterwards, turned into a 4-way brawl, and then it started a match between Lacey and Naomi, which was going pretty good for a little while. Then the other two jumped in, Dana and Tamina, and again just broke into a 4-way brawl. So I'm not sure what the point of this was, other than just to fill some time and get some people on TV that hadn't been on in a while, or that haven't been on very much. So I mean, it is what it is. It was an entertaining little spot. Some people hated it, and some whatever. But I mean, it. Like I said, I think WWE is kind of doing what they have to do as far as filling all the TV time that they're required to fill every week. It wasn't horrible. I mean, I was kind of surprised at the singing voices on some of these ladies. Honestly, Naomi sang Dusty Rhodes' theme song from back in the day, the Common Man, and I was impressed. So she was the winner of the karaoke competition. And then at the end of the night, the main event was the New Day defending the SmackDown Tag Team titles against the team of Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura. New Day was victorious in this one as a result of a disqualification, so I'm sure this is setting up another match somewhere down the line, probably at Extreme Rules, where it would not surprise me to see Cesaro and Nakamura take the tag team titles. They did beat down the New Day after the match, laid out Big E on a table, and powerbombed Kofi Kingston through Big E and through the table. So yeah, it was great tag team match, good ending, made Cesaro and Nakamura just look really, really strong. And like I said, I'm sure this is going to lead up to another title match in the very near future, probably at Extreme Rules, but they haven't confirmed that yet either. Some kind of interesting miscellaneous news from WWE. Is a rumor floating around that there will be another Evolution pay-per-view. Now, for those of you that don't remember, Evolution was the all-women's pay-per-view that they did quite a while back, a couple of years ago. I think it's been 2 years now, almost. And rumor is that it's going to be happening on August the 30th, so we'll have to see. Like I said, it's just a rumor at this point, but and there's has been a rumor that there will be some type of like a network special or something on that date on August 30th. So could it be Evolution 2? We'll have to wait and see until it's officially announced. Moving into some AEW news, we saw the debut of Brian Pillman Jr. on AEW Dark this week, took on Shawn Spears. Really good match between these two guys. Brian Pillman Jr. is one of my favorite independent guys out there. He's been with MLW for quite a while. Now, also working with AEW. Apparently the way his contract is structured, he's able to do both. And these two guys put on a great match. Spears was victorious in this one. Not a real big surprise. I mean, it was Pillman's very first match. So, I don't think they're going to push him to the moon immediately upon him entering the company. But we did find out next week on AEW Dark, or this week, I should say, this coming Tuesday, he's going to be taking on Brian Cage for that newly reintroduced FTW Championship. Now, this one's very interesting because you guys have all heard me talk about Warrior Wrestling multiple times on this show. And, Brian Cage was the Warrior Wrestling champion, was unable to make his last title defense due to injury, and handpicked Brian Pillman Jr. to take his place in that match. And Brian Pillman Jr. came out of that match as the Warrior Wrestling champion. So that to me, and to anybody that follows the independents, follows Warrior Wrestling, adds a whole new dimension to this match between Cage and Pillman. Now, I'm pretty sure we're probably going to see, a typical Brian Cage squash match because he's being pushed as the monster heel, just dominant force in AEW. So I don't think we're going to see a 30-minute Matt Classic between Pillman and Cage. But, that aside, I think, these two guys, they know each other very well from the independents, and I think they could put on a great match. And, if AEW, which I think is more likely to happen in AEW than in WWE. If AEW just kind of lets these guys go in there and put on their kind of match, let Pillman show what he can do. I mean, I'm sure Cage is going to be victorious. They're not going to have him lose a match to Brian Pillman Jr. right before his World Championship match against Jon Moxley. But, I would like to see this be a good competitive match between Cage and Pillman. But that's just me. That's my biased opinion because I do follow Warrior Wrestling so closely. And this, this is, in that context, this is a dream match. We saw Kenny Omega and Hangman Page defeat Private Party to retain the AEW World Tag Team Championship at Fyter Fest on Wednesday. Again, awesome tag team match between these two guys. I mean, there were several contenders for match of the week this week, and this was one of them. Page and Omega versus Private Party, but Omega and Page were victorious in that one. Then Lance Archer defeated Joey Janela in a little bit of a one-sided affair. I mean, Joey Janela got some good offense in, but Archer was victorious in that one. And then we had the main event of the Butcher and the Blade and the Lucha Brothers taking on the Young Bucks and FTR. Now, or that wasn't the main event, but yeah, you got my point. But anyway, Butcher and Blade and the Lucha Brothers were victorious in that one due to just a little bit of miscommunication at the end between the Bucks and FTR. But again, this was another contender for match of the week. Just an excellent 8-man tag team match. A lot of fun to watch. Then we found out coming up, or actually before I get into that, let me finish talking about Fyter Fest. The Dark Order defeated SCU in a 6-man match. So it's looking more and more like Colt Cabana is going to be a full-fledged member of the Dark Order. I mean, obviously he's been picking up some victories since he's been associated with them, and now he's got a new T-shirt out, which the name Colt Cabana on the T-shirt looks suspiciously like Cult Cabana, and I'm sure that's by design. But so I think it's just a matter of time before we find out that Colt is a full-fledged member of the Dark Order. I already talked about the Jericho and Orange Cassidy match. Again, that was the match of the week. Jericho was victorious, but it was an amazing match. This match did for Orange Cassidy what Jericho's match did for Darby Allin as well. Just because Jericho was victorious does not mean that Cassidy did not get over, because he did. They put on a fantastic match the same way Darby Allin put on a great match with Chris Jericho, and the way Darby Allin's put on great matches with Cody. And hopefully, we've been seeing little vignettes from Darby Allin the last several weeks, and he hasn't been medically cleared to return. Hopefully he is sometime soon, and I hope to God when he is, he's got a new finishing move, because that coffin drop, I'm pretty sure, is what is definitely not helping with keeping his body in working condition. So as cool as that move is, I would love to see Darby Allin come back with a new finisher. And then moving on to next week, we're going to see what's being billed as Fight for the Fallen, which is another AEW special event. We're getting 3 weeks in a row of pay-per-view quality shows from AEW, and this is where we're going to see the match between Moxley and Brian Cage for the World Heavyweight Championship. We're also going to see the Elite, the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega taking on Jurassic Express. That should be an awesome match. I mean, that is my early pick for match of the week, because I just think that's going to be. I think that match is just going to be a lot of fun with those 6 guys in there. That match is going to be fun to watch. We found out Cody is going to be defending the TNT title on Wednesday against Sonny Kiss, so that should be a great match. I mean, Sonny Kiss you see predominantly on AEW Dark. Don't see him too much on Dynamite. So it'll be great to see Sonny Kiss in a more prominent position in a championship match. So I think that's going to be a really cool match. And then we are going to also see the Lucha Brothers taking on FTR. This one is going to be crazy. Major conflict as far as styles go. So, I'm looking forward to that one. 2 of my favorite tag teams currently in wrestling. So I cannot wait to see that one. moving on to some New Japan news, which we haven't had for quite a while. Evil is your winner of the 2020 New Japan Cup, defeated Kazuchika Okada in the final of the New Japan tournament with some help from the Bullet Club of all people. Now, anybody who follows New Japan knows Evil is a member of LIJ, and at the end of the match, Evil, like I said, won the New Japan Cup, and Naito, leader of LIJ, came out to congratulate him. And of course, Naito is was the Intercontinental and IWGP Heavyweight Champion for New Japan, and that's who Evil would be facing at Dominion for both of those championships. Naito came out to congratulate him. They went to Naito called for the fist bump, the LIJ fist bump, and Evil threw up the too sweet, the Bullet Club, and took Naito down. So Evil is a full-fledged member now of the Bullet Club, and went on to Dominion to defeat Naito, again with some help from the Bullet Club, for the Intercontinental and Heavyweight Championship. So Evil is your new top guy in New Japan. A little bit of a surprise. Evil, not really viewed as a main event guy, but I think a welcome surprise, and I'm curious to see where this one's going to go. Who's going to be his next opponent? What are they going to continue defending the titles together? Are they going to split them back up? How is this going to work? So I'm very happy to see New Japan up and running again, and can't wait to see where they're going with their new World Heavyweight and Intercontinental Champion Evil. Another new set of champions coming out of Dominion is the IWGP Tag Team Champions. Tanahashi and Ibushi, who were the champions, were defeated by Taichi and Zack Sabre Jr. So new IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team Champions as well. A little bit of Ring of Honor news this week. I found out they are going to, this coming week, their weekly television show is going to be a tribute to Hana Kimura. Those of you who remember, Hana passed away earlier this summer, back in May. So this is going to be a tribute to Hana with videos of her matches from Ring of Honor, video tributes from her friends in Ring of Honor. So it should be one to watch. I'm definitely going to be checking that one out. Some Impact news. Had a really cool tag team match, or what I think was a cool tag team match on Impact this past week. Susie and Kylie Ray defeated Taya Valkyrie and Rosemary in, just like I said, I thought it was a cool match. I love the team of Kylie Ray and Susie, and some of you may think I'm weird for that, but Kylie Ray, one of my just favorites in general in pro wrestling. I love her character, and her character is her. I mean, she is an awesome person. I've met her in person, and yes, that is who she is. She is awesome. But yeah, so I love the team of Kylie Ray and Susie. I'm waiting to see what it is it's going to be that triggers the reemergence of Su Yung out of all of this. I'm sure that's coming at some point. We also found out that the returning world champion that's supposed to be coming back at Slammiversary coming up on the 18th is not coming alone, whatever that means. So does that mean it's going to be a manager? Is it going to be a tag team partner? Who's it going to be? A lot of speculation going around. That it's going to be EC3, I think, is the top contender for it. I mentioned last week, could it be Bully Ray coming back with Gallows and Anderson to kind of reform the Aces and Eights with D'Lo Brown? That's something that's been hinted at the last several weeks as well. So we'll have to wait and see. But the returning champion is not coming alone. And we also had a really good match between Jordynne Grace and Kimber Lee on Impact this past week. Another one, definitely go back and check it out. Impact right now, to me, has the best women's division in wrestling, and it just keeps getting better. So, with the additions of like Deonna Purrazzo and Nevaeh, and who knows who else is going to be showing up in Impact in the Knockouts division. So that's going to pretty much wrap it up for news and rumors for the week. So right now, I'm going to throw it over to Charlie G, and he is here with your Indie Cut.
Thank you, Tom, and hey to wrestling friends. I am Charlie G with your Indie Cut. I am going to change up how I report on things, if that's okay with all of you, since this is supposed to be just a cut and not a whole show. I'll recap the shows I watched with details, mention what shows did take place with a highlighted match or two, title matches, and of course any news and Lucha Underground recap. If you like the old way or of my cut or this new way, email the show and let us know what you prefer. Okay, so let's begin with July 4th with the GCW Backyard Wrestling 2. Yes, it was in someone's backyard. Looked like close to a park or a forest reserve. But later on I found out it was in a backyard of probably the promoter because it looked like a very fancy house with a pool, which I'll get to in a bit. Joey Janela did start off things, lighting off a firework, only to be scared away. So Joey Janela was in undisclosed location, probably New Jersey, still helping out GCW. Now these names are backyard names. I will try my best to tell you who they are now. Not all of them was revealed to me, and I don't know everyone in GCW, so I will do my best. First match was Ricky Crash, who was Ricky Shane Page, against Alex Zane. Zane did a somersault over the roof of a car onto Ricky, which is a cool spot. Later on, Zane did an inverted moonsault laying on the ring apron, which looked very painful. And Shane Page won with a Tiger Driver from the top rope through a door. Of course, it wouldn't be a GCW show without a door. Second match was Casey Quick versus Paco Loco, who was Chris Dickinson. In a match where the door won, as Loco did a razor's edge to Quick to the door, and it didn't break. Not once, not twice, not 3 times. I'll get to that in a bit. Loco then missed a Quick off. Okay, he threw Quick off a scaffold onto a plywood and door structure. Finally, Loco hit a big tombstone pile driver, trying a Pazuzu bomb onto the unbreakable door for the win. So the door won at least 3 times, and Paco Loco won in that. Third match was Nasty Leroy with Joey Janela defeating Dilf. If you watch AEW Dark or the show, you would see Nasty Leroy next to Janela in the crowd. So he's getting his opportunity to, I wouldn't call it wrestling, but to perform. Nasty Leroy actually defeated, I'll call him Rainbow Boy. There was a kiddie pool set up by ringside, and it was used when Rainbow Boy was in it. Rainbow Boy went for a crossbody, missing Leroy, landing into the pool, which led to Janela lighting up a Roman candle for Leroy to shoot at Boy in the pool. As Boy was trying to move from the top of a child's playhouse, the roof caved in. So actually the roof did cave in this backyard show. Finally the Boy was put into a Bobcat scoop and then dropped onto the roof of a Plymouth Neon for the pin and win by Leroy. Sloppy match, kind of fun if you like all that stuff. That's backyard wrestling, folks. That's all I'm going to put this at. Next up wasn't really a match, more of a call-out by Denver, Colorado against Alley Cat. There was no ref, so it ended with a clothesline by Alley as they fought all over the yard into a pool while kids were swimming. This was very sloppy on their part, especially since Mr. Colorado was kind of busted open on his arm. Interesting time, probably filler for GCW, but it showed the whole yard of this area, so that was kind of nice. Next up was the Combat Kid, who was Chase Barnett versus Tony Deppen. This was a decent match, even using a trampoline for a move. Deppen won with a lung blower move onto the Kid. Next was a match I actually kind of enjoyed. It was Kyle Smiley, who was KTB, defeating Logan Stunt. Logan looks skinnier and skinnier day by day. I guess Marco is taking all the meals even at home now. KTB, who really wanted ice cream, ran for the ice cream truck, bringing back 2 cones for him and Logan, only for Logan to put it into Kale's head, and then Kale speared Logan with it. Funny gimmick if you believe an ice cream cone can impale someone's head. Now these two used the trampoline for a few moves as Logan caught even the tree trunk above to do a destroyer off onto a door, smashing K. KTB won with a top rope DV Death Valley driver through the trampoline and the doors that were sitting on it. So they ruined a trampoline in this as well. After intermission, which I missed these 3 matches, so it was Dexter White, who was Atticus Cougar, defeated Vampiro, who was Facade, in what had to be a really cool match. In an 8-man tag elimination match, it was the Yard Legends of Hard-Ass Nick, who was Nick Gage, Lucky the Leprechaun, who was Lucky 13, Matt DeMorris, and Psycho Joe. They defeated the New School Yarders of Kid Grapple of Blake Christian, Emanon, who was Jimmy Lloyd, Jordan Oliver, and Mayday Jack, who was Cole Radrick. Of course, Nick Gage eliminated all 4 of them, actually. Mayday, Jordan, Grapple, and Iman to win. In the main event, it was El Slacko, who was Slack, defeating JJ Escobar by referee's decision. Their next show looks to be on July 25th and 26th for their homecoming. So I will see if I can see that when it comes out. Then we move later in the night to ICW New York No Holds Barred Volume 3, Deathmatch Drive-In 2. This is pretty much in the same yard, maybe a different camera angle to make it look a little bit more spacious. So first match was Dominic Guarini defeating Big Twan Tucker. Eddie Kingston defeated Brett Eisen. They gave Eddie a live mic for some reason, and he went off on every company, even the NWA. So, yeah. I'll just stop right there. Next up was Eddie Only defeating Tim Donst. After the match, the Sandman, of all people, came out with pyro and everything on top of a truck to help hit Eddie a couple times with his kendo stick, and then toss Dunst a beer to celebrate the night. Then there was Eric Ryan defeating Alex Ocean. Matthew Justice defeated Casanova Valentine. Akira defeated Matt Tremont in a wild sprawl. I couldn't believe half the stuff that was going on. John Wayne Murdoch defeated Jeff King, only to be challenged later on by Nick Gage, and he defeated Nick Gage as well to end the night. Then Fist, the Great American Barbecue from San Diego, California. A couple matches to talk about. Pickle Jim defeated Tyrannosaurus Flex. Mocho's Jungle defeated Hawkamelon, and Miranda Elise defeated Ryan Kidd. We go to July 5th, 2020 with 0-1. We're not going to Corona. Tenkaichi Junior Tournament 2020 with an attendance of 151. So they had those matches. First round matches, so I won't have to talk about those too much. Pure J had an event with an attendance of 30. Oz Academy Sonoko Kato 25th anniversary year with attendance of 200. With Aja Kong teaming with Tsubasa Kuragaki, defeated Kaiho Kobayashi and Kokoro Sakaguchi. And then in an 8-person tag was Mayu Okihai, Oyumo Ozaki, Suru Onoi, and Yumi Oke, defeating Kari Yonoyama, Sonoko Kato, and Yu. Oh, and Akino. Sorry about that. For Noah New Hope Day 3, Rene Dupree defeated Tadzuki. And the Goto Move Choco Pro number 29 on YouTube. I looked up. I guess you should check these out. These are actually sponsored by AEW Dark. So I guess they were since Emi Sakura is pretty much the promoter there. You might see some of these ladies in AEW whenever they get to travel. This was a thank you program for Riho. So the 2 matches were Matsuru Kono and Tokiko Kurihara defeating Emi Sakura and Lulu Pencil. And in the main event, it was Riho and Yuno Mizumori defeating Galen Aki and Mei Segura. It's an interesting concept. They don't wrestle in a ring; they wrestle on gym mats in a hallway, if you might put it like that. So check it out if you can. That's Goto Move. I'm sure you'll find it. Then there's Dragon Gate Hopeful Gate 2020 Day 2 with an attendance of 315. In an 8-man tag, it was Diamante, Keito Ishida, Kazuma Sakamoto, and Tokashi Yoshida defeating Don Fuji, Ultimo Dragon, Gama, and Kento Kabun. Then Dragon Kid teamed with Shuji Kondo defeating Ben K and Jason Lee. And in a 6-man tag, it was Kai, Strong Machine J, and Yamato defeated Big R Schmoozy, BXB, Hulk, and Ita. Then in 2AW Active Advanced Pro, Launching Business First Anniversary Grand Slam, and the 2A Openweight title match, Yaito Yoshida defeated champion Yuji Yokobayashi to become new champion. On July 6th, Wave Nami won with an attendance of 72. In a marvelous That's Woman Pro Wrestling, there was a 3-on-2 handicap match with Maria and Makoto Shindo defeating Koya, Miya Hasazuki, and Masa Slamovich. And I believe Masa's from Evolve Wrestling, so that was kind of interesting to see. That's why I put it in the show. Then there was DDT Chris Brooks Produce Shinkiba No Fans Extravaganza number 1. This show was designed for DDT's international fans with English commentary, even if it was just for 2 matches. Chris Brooks defeated Miyu Yamashita. In an interesting match, it went back and forth, a little sloppy at times. Brooks won with a double underhook pile driver. And then in a super hardcore match, Drew Parker defeated Shunma Katsumata. Shunma came out with a plastic back with Legos on it. They took the fight to the parking lot and fought on top of the company van. Shunma stapled Parker's lip to the ring mat, which gave him time to build up a tower of chairs, only for Parker to throw him into it. It got hardcore when Shunma introduced plastic capsules filled with Legos. So, all you Lego fans, this was the match for you. Both men performed some high impact moves on those Legos. There was a failed attempt of a swanton on the Shunma while laying on a table onto the floor. which looked really nasty because he missed almost everything except for the edge of the table. And then finally the match ended with Parker landing a pile driver onto the Legos and then a sweet swanton for a hard-fought win. The commentator said there will probably be a second Brooks-produced show, probably in 2 weeks, but we shall see. I actually kind of liked it. Nice. I mean, I know Chris Brooks. I see Miyu Yamashita, so it was okay to, fine to watch them wrestle. The other two, I haven't seen them wrestle before, so it's kind of, it was different. It was nice to see. I can't wait. I hope there is a number 2. We go to July 7th with Wave, World Woman Pro Wrestling Diana Queen Elizabeth title match of Sakura Haruta, champion, defeated Karyu Ito and Tomoko Watanabe by countout. In the Regina D Wave title match, champion Nagisha Nozaki defeated Yuki Miyazaki. On July 8th, Ice Ribbon's Peace Party number 48 with an attendance of 50. All Japan Pro Wrestling Wednesday special had Kenta Miyahara versus Yoshitatsu in a 7-minute draw. I don't get the 7-minute thing, but it's the only match of the night. I guess that's what you get. Finally, we go to July 10th with Dragon Gate Hopeful Gate 2020 Day 3 with an attendance of 185. Dragon Dia, Kota Minoru, and Strong Machine J defeated Genki Hiraguchi, Ryo Sato, and Ultimo Dragon. Some happy news in AAA. Vanilla Vargas and Australian Suicide announced that they will be parents together. So congrats to the happy couple. Guess this quarantine has hit another couple, but congrats to them. Now for the 2B Throwback Machine and Lucha Underground episode 14, open mic night from February 11th, 2015. We start the show with Dario Cueto talking to Alberto Del Patron as he went into the temple for loyalty and blood. First match was Phoenix against Argenis. This was a great match between these two luchadors with moves I've never seen before. On this show or ever since, and that's why I enjoy it very much. During the match, Stryker and Vampiro talk about AAA wrestling, which I thought was pretty cool. Katrina walks into the temple to get a closer look to her secret desire in Phoenix. Both men had chances to win, but early on, but Phoenix pulled off a pile driver for the victory. After the match, Katrina comes into the ring, giving Argenis the look of death, all while looking at Phoenix. After a break, we see Katrina talking to Mil Muertes about how he could not handle the power of 1,000 lives, but Mil did not take kindly to this, saying he needs nothing. While walking through the hallway, Mil meets up with Chavo Guerrero, claiming next week he will pay his debt. Can't wait to find out what that is. Then we see Big Rick in a confessional saying he is going to destroy the 3 men that betrayed him and how vengeance will be his, showing his battle wounds from the crew. Finally, match number 2. Johnny Mundo defeated Son of Havoc with Ivelisse in his corner. This was a solid match with Havoc coming close a few times to defeating Mundo. In the end, Havoc waited too long on the top rope, with Ivelisse yelling at him to dive already. That was kind of funny. When he finally did, Mundo blocked the move with double knees, leading to the end of the world move from the corner to win. After the match, out came King Cuerno to beat down Mundo, leaving him flat in the ring. In the main event, it was Pentagon Jr. defeating Ricky Mandel. I was surprised Mandel lasted as long as he did, even with Vampiro thinking Mandel was Rick Martel. Yeah, it was okay. It's Vampiro. It's got to be funny. Pentagon was more aggressive during the match and won rather easily with his Chimera armbar submission. And once again, after the bell, he did the snap armbreaker to Mandel. For the final segment, Alberto El Patron came to the ring with the AAA Heavyweight Championship, talking about why he came to the temple to wrestle, claiming the revolution is here, only to be interrupted by Tejano, Alberto's biggest rival in AAA. Tejano beat down Alberto with his bull rope, saying that he has his title. So back then, AAA and Lucha Underground kind of put their storylines together, which is kind of nice. I think that's when I start actually trying to find AAA wrestling. So I gotta thank Lucha Underground for that. That's a wrap for me. Till next time, when I will recap any indie news or shows that come about. Don't forget to look at those Twitch streams and YouTube channels for other wrestling content. Thank you for watching or listening. Hope you enjoyed the new cut. Stay safe. Take care and be kind, everyone. Back to you, Tom.
All right, that is Charlie G with your indie cut for this week. Coming up next on the show, this is where we highlight the one fan who is a positive influence on the wrestling community, the fan community, the internet wrestling community, whatever you want to call it, and it is the Fan of the Week. All right, so the Fan of the Week this week is a good friend of mine. His name is Cowboy Archie Coughlin. He is the creator of the Wrestling Behind Ringside podcast, WrestlingBehindRingside.com. This guy just loves pro wrestling, and besides being a podcaster and an entrepreneur with his website, he's also a published author. His book. Two Swords, One Stone is available on Amazon. You should check that out. And just like I said, the guy just loves wrestling. He and I talk about wrestling literally all the time. And he's got a great mind for wrestling. He's got some really cool stuff in the works coming up with his new YouTube channel. Definitely keep an eye out for that. I'll definitely be promoting that on the show when that is getting ready to drop. But so Cowboy Archie Coughlin, he is the Fan of the Week this week. So moving into the next segment of the show where I get to have a little bit of fun and play armchair promoter here. This is the Fantasy Booker. This week's Fantasy Booker may not be a fantasy for too much longer because there have been a lot of hints getting dropped online. Well, not a lot, but just little things here and there. And I talked about something similar a while back on the Fantasy Booker, and that is a new Horseman type faction forming in AEW. Now, when I talked about it before, it was just my, brainstorming of what I thought would make a good version of the Horsemen in AEW. But this one, like I said, there's been little hints getting dropped online, and basically what's going to make up this faction is Cody, Sean Spears, and FTR. And obviously Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard would be a part of that as well, just, because they are the managers of Cody and Sean Spears. But, and this, kind of stems from Sean Spears posting some stuff on Twitter about FTR, saying that they're one of his favorite teams, and one of the guys from FTR just responded to the tweet with the number 4. Roman numeral 4. And then again, Spears put up a post about not liking people, and he only likes 3 other people, besides himself. And Cody Rhodes responded to that one with the same thing, the Roman numeral 4. So, little hints being dropped, but I think that these guys would make a hell of a faction. Whether they call them the Horsemen or not, that's obviously what it's reminiscent of, is the 4 Horsemen, especially with the involvement of Arn and Tully. But, Yeah, I mean, as far as, workhorses in the ring, I mean, you're not going to find four better guys in AEW that fit that mold. So it's an interesting, interesting little speculation that's kind of going on right now, that these four guys could kind of join forces and create a new version, or whatever you want to call it, of the Horsemen. Like I said, they wouldn't be able to use the Four Horsemen name, obviously, because I think that's owned by WWE, but I'm not sure. I saw somebody out there said it's actually owned by Conrad Thompson. So if that's the case, then yeah, they could use the Four Horsemen name. But either way, it's and I saw some people online complaining about this. Oh, do something new and blah blah. Well, it is new. It's not Ric Flair. It's not Arn and Tully aren't wrestling. It's not the original Four Horsemen or any original version of the Four Horsemen, whatever. But it's kind of a new reimagining of that type of stable, So, but there's going to be people that complain about everything. Like I said before, when I was talking about the U.S. title belt, and there's going to be people that hate on it and say it's just a ripoff or a sad imitation of the original and this and that. And, for people that look at it that way, I'm sorry, just sit back and be a fan. Just for 5 minutes. Just sit back, let go of being a critic and thinking that you actually know something about the wrestling business, because, I think JR said it best on his podcast. Everybody thinks they're an expert. Well, you're not an expert. He's an expert. JR is an expert. And Arn Anderson is an expert. And Tully Blanchard is an expert. And, these guys that have been in the business for literally their entire lives. Those are the experts, guys, not us. We're fans. Just because you've been watching for your entire life, like I have, doesn't make you an expert on the wrestling business, because you're not a part of it. Period. So anyway, but yeah, so this I think would be something really cool. And AEW is very heavy on factions. It's kind of a thing that I believe was at least inspired by New Japan, where everybody's part of a faction. And so and Cody made mention a couple of weeks ago that he doesn't seem like he's part of any faction anymore. He's questioning, is he still part of the Elite? Is he still part of the Nightmare family? So, again, little hints being dropped here and there. And if they do kind of like a slow build to this and put it into action, I think it could be something really, really cool. So that is a fantasy booker for this week. A new Horseman type faction possibly popping up in AEW. So keep an eye out for that one. So moving right along into the last segment of the show here, where I give my possibly not so popular opinion on a subject in pro wrestling, and that is called the Weekly Hot Take. My hot take for this week is, I don't give a damn about TV ratings. There is so much crap online about, with fans arguing with each other and just making stupid comments about, who won in the ratings and key demographics and blah, blah, blah. Why do you care? Seriously, what effect does the TV ratings of a wrestling show have on you? I'll answer that for you. It's zero. It makes no damn difference to you or to me or to any other fan what the rating was for your favorite wrestling show for the night. It doesn't affect you in the least. So why do you care so much? Why do you want to argue so much about which wrestling show won in the ratings and which one, lost the most viewers from one week to the next, or which one gained the most viewers from one week to the next, or which one was most popular in the 18 to 49 demographic and all this kind of stuff. Who cares? Honestly, the only people that care about ratings, the only people that ratings have an effect on are TV executives and the actual wrestling promotion themselves. That's it. And I'll tell you right now, Raw's not going anywhere. Smackdown's not going anywhere. NXT not going anywhere. AEW not going anywhere. All right? Just because NXT has higher ratings one week doesn't mean AEW did bad. I mean, the difference between, number of viewers between AEW and NXT, it honestly, from week to week is minimal. No matter who came out ahead, the difference between the two is almost negligible. You got to remember there's a margin of error, which, Anyway, I'm not going to get into all of that because, people are just going to come up with their own arguments anyway. But as a fan, I don't give a damn what the TV ratings are. I give a damn that I enjoy watching the show. And for the most part, I enjoy watching wrestling on TV. Any wrestling, all wrestling, whether it's WWE, MLW, AEW, Impact, Ring of Honor. If it's wrestling, I want to watch it. I don't care what the ratings are. I don't care what channel it's on. People want to talk about Impact being on Access TV, and it's not available in most places, and who cares? They're also on Twitch. If you really care that much and you want to watch it that bad, it's on Twitch. So, it's available literally everywhere, anywhere in the world. So, but yeah, that's my take on that one. I could not care less about what the TV ratings are for AEW versus NXT or Raw or Smackdown or Impact or anything else. I love watching professional wrestling. I am a wrestling fan. I think a lot of people have lost sight of what it means to be a fan. It means you enjoy watching it, and if you don't enjoy watching it, you change the channel or, something. There's a whole lot of buttons on that remote control. You can, turn it off. You can change the channel. You can watch something that you do like so that you're not, don't spend the next hour and a half after the show is over bitching about it online. But it seems to be that's what a lot of people live for, so whatever. But for me personally, I don't give a damn about TV ratings, and that's that. So one last thing I want to mention before I sign off for this week. Warrior Wrestling has announced that their next show is coming up on August the 7th. They are calling it Friday Night Lights. This is going to be their first outdoor event ever. It's going to be held at Marion Catholic High School on their football field. They're going to be taking all the necessary precautions as far as masks and social distancing, things like that. And that applies also to the Fan Fest beforehand. Fans have to wear a mask. If you're going to take pictures with the wrestlers, have to be on opposite sides of the table and, appropriate distance apart and things like that. So obviously some changes happening with that stuff, but it's Warrior Wrestling. I've never seen them put on a bad show, and from what I've seen so far, the little bit of a sneak peek that I was able to have at some of the wrestlers and things that are going to be going on at this show, this is going to be a fantastic event. So if you are in the Chicago area or going to be in the Chicago area on Friday, August the 7th, get tickets. Because it's gonna be an amazing show. It's gonna be a fairly limited audience. They're not gonna be able to have as packed of a crowd as they normally do for obvious reasons. It's gonna be a BYO event. No concessions, just to minimize contact. So you'll be able to bring your own food and beverages and that kind of thing. And but yeah, it should be an awesome show. I am trying to work out a way that I can be there to broadcast it live like I have been the last couple of shows. Being on a Friday makes it a little bit more difficult for me to do that, but I'm working on it. So I will hopefully have an announcement about that within the next week or so. But so make sure you check it out. Warrior Wrestling Friday Night Lights, Friday, August the 7th. Should be an amazing show, like always, from Warrior Wrestling. So that's going to wrap things up for this week. Again, I want to thank everybody, as always, for watching, listening, and subscribing on YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from. Make sure you're following on social media. You can find the show at Catch Hook Shoot on all platforms. Patreon.com/CatchHookShoot for bonus content. ProWrestlingTees.com/CatchHookShoot for t-shirts. And if you ever want to shoot me an email, it's catchhookshoot@gmail.com. So with that, I am going to sign off for this week. Hope everybody has a great week. Enjoy all the wrestling that's coming up. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And just be a decent person, guys. I've said this many times. Just, show some common courtesy to each other. And it definitely does go a long way in making the world a better place. So with that, I'm going to sign off. Hope you guys have a great week, and I will talk to you guys soon.